everyone, and welcome back to our RISE MICCAI storytelling series, where we spotlight the stories that inspire, challenge, and celebrate the journey of emerging and established researchers from worldwide in the MICCAI community. So I'm Nina, I'm a PhD student at the Technical University of Denmark. So about today's episode is a very special one. We're very thrilled to welcome someone who not only rises, but uplifts others along the way. A researcher mentor and a supporter who impacts researchers far beyond publications. So let us meet Dr. Islem Rekik. So Islem Rekik is an associate professor at Imperial College London. She's the founder and director of the Brain and Signal Research and Analysis Lab, also called BASIRA Lab, right, if I pronounce this correct. And beyond her impressive scientific contributions, Islem is also a passionate voice for diversity and inclusion in STEM. She is the former president of Women in MICCAI, and she's also the founder and former president of RISE MICCAI. And yes, like this RISE. So without her, such podcast will not exist. And we will dive into her journey shortly today. But first, let's welcome Islem to the show. We're absolutely very delighted to have you here. And how are you feeling today?
Hi, good morning, Nina. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm actually thrilled to be here. You know, like the storytelling idea I proposed I think a year back, and I'm so happy to see it coming into life, and you guys have started this podcast. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's really nice. Actually, I don't know that you promote this idea before, so I guess we can also talk a little bit more about that part today, later. But first, would you take us back a bit? Let's rewind a bit about where everything starts. What sparks you interested in medical imaging in AI and in healthcare in general?
Okay, so that's that is quite close. So if you look at the very origin of my career journey, my academic journey, I grew up in Tunisia. So originally I am from North Africa, so Arab, Muslim, and African. So a lot of diversity colors there. And so growing up, I was very keen to learn. So as you can see, part of my faith and maybe the first word that was revealed in the Quran, which is one of my most inspiring books, is read. So I'm a bookworm, so I love reading. And I grew up reading about different topics in literature and maths and, memoirs. And actually, interestingly, you asked me, how did I get to healthcare and AI? I wasn't planning to do STEM. I was so much into literature. I've never shared this in any podcast before. So I wanted to kind of do humanities, right? Yeah. So at the time, I was like, okay, I had a high score in high school, and I had the option to go for humanities or for engineering and medicine. And after thinking it through, I said, okay, it's, maybe I should consider math because I also love math so much and I want to develop my skills, and I will keep my literature passion on the side, and I can read and I can attend, I would say events and network. Basically that was the most important transition point, is making the decision to go into STEM. Science and engineering. And then the second turning point, I would say, that has led me to this. Actually, I would call it serendipity. So a list or a series of events that has led me here. I didn't envision myself when I was 18 that I would be an engineer leading a research lab. I never had that vision or dream. So I just was passionate about learning, and I had a very curious mind. I just want to learn about anything, everything. After I got into engineering, so I did my undergrad in Paris for 3 years, master at École Normale Supérieure. So that was the first time, actually, I was exposed to machine learning. So the master was in mathématiques, vision et apprentissage, mathematics, visions, and machine learning. So then that exposed me to the idea of machine learning and AI, and I was I became passionate about it. So that was a turning point. The master I did at the time, that was like years back. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, you can imagine, right?
Yeah. Do you recall like which year is that? Because I believe that there must be like really new trend at that
Yeah, it was
time,
very new actually, and it
right?
was highly theoretical. I remember when I took a reinforcement learning, module, it was all maths, like all like very mathy at the time. So it was in 2010. So if I do the math correctly, it's like 15 years back. Yeah.
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 Because
So
at that time, there's no such thing as deep learning. It is like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing like ResNet or something. I think the ResNet was from 2016, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
the UNet also a bit earlier. So yeah, so at the time, machine learning was very different. Like we didn't really train neural networks. It was, the very foundational theory, and it was something emerging, right? I don't remember actually training models and doing training and testing because I think I wasn't taught back propagation at the time. So at least part of my master degree. But yeah, so it was the very early, I would say, phase or stage of machine learning. So the thing is, like when I took the master degree, when I had the master degree, I actually aced it, so I had the highest honors, and I came first. But the thing is, like, I thought that I understood how to do research. I was like, oh, this is a prestigious, university in France. So I had a sort of confidence that I know how to do things, and this has completely changed and was kind of eroded when I moved to the US for my postdoc. So I did my PhD in at the University of Edinburgh, and after that, I actually moved to the States, and I think that was the second or third most important transition point. So the first one is realizing I want to get into STEM. The second one was a master's degree in AI, and the third one was actually getting into AI. And that was part of my postdoctoral training at the Idea Lab under the supervision of Professor Dingang Shen. So I actually owe him a lot from, like the expertise I got in terms of understanding, how to use AI in healthcare, medical imaging. I was exposed for the first time back in 2006, I think 14, 15 to the community, MICCAI community. Actually, I got my first MICCAI paper in 2015. I got an oral presentation. I was actually
nice.
overly joyed because, like first time I give an oral presentation in a big conference. And so my experience at the Idea Lab was truly transformative because they worked on a lot of projects, segmentation, image reconstruction. They used deep learning. We had the early deep learning models, primed as part of the lab. And Professor Dingang, he was a great mentor and a great supervisor. Like we had so many weekly meetings. It was a highly dynamic lab that allowed me to kind of think about medical imaging problems using AI, but also learn at an incredible pace.
This is a great journey to hear because if I can summarize in that way, so first, you're also interested in humanity, but for some reason you choose engineering at the end. That's the first transition point. And the second is that you got into interest in machine learning and during your master. And then actually it is, if I understand it correct, it is actually from your postdoc at the States that you started to be interested in using machine learning in medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's actually what you're doing right now, that as a associate professor and also a scientist like working on brain imaging. Would you like to share us a bit about your research now? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a very broad question.
Yes.
Okay, so my research now. So I never let go actually of humanities. So that's why right now I'm trying to kind of bring together humanities and STEM, and this is the research direction I'm trying to explore right now. How can we, integrate, a lot of topics from humanities into STEM. So what I have noticed is in our educational institutions, whether the Western or also the Eastern ones, we have a very, I would say, we have a curriculum that trains students. So I taught at different institutions, by the way. I taught at the University of Dundee. I was a lecturer in Scotland. I taught at Istanbul Technical University. I also had, taught students in North Africa, like in Tunisia, here in the UK at Imperial, the second best institution in the world right now. So basically I was exposed to different cohorts of students, and what I have noticed is a common pattern. A lot of students struggle to, abstract, to have higher level of abstractions when it comes to thinking about a problem. So they know how to solve, they know how to memorize, they know how to use tools, but when you get them out of that box and you ask them to use these tools or adapt them to solve a similar different problems, they struggle. And I think it's because of the way we are teaching them. So the educational systems do not teach you how to use logic and reasoning, which are things that belong to the liberal arts, which is part of humanities. Also, I think philosophy is important. History is so important. I'm going to mention it, maybe later as part of a few projects I'm doing right now. So these, I think these humanities topics are fundamental to endow the students with skills that they really need to become more creative. And what I believe is that the majority of the students, they just want to tick boxes, which means I am acing my degree, I'm acing my exams, I'm getting my degree, and then that's it, right? So just, ticking boxes. But I do believe that the mission of education is to educate people, and educare in Greek, if I remember well, it means getting you out of yourself. And getting you out of yourself means that you're not egocentric, you're not individualistic, right? So there is a lot of things here that I think we need to kind of revive why these educational institutions were brought into life in the first place. What is their real mission? I think we just grew up and follow what is there, and we don't think about why we have these institutions in the first place. And we follow the system, ticking boxes like I did. So I followed the system, to be honest. I'm not an outlier, right? But what I'm trying to do right now is rethink and go back to the roots, so you can shoot better, so you can grow out better. And so talking about research, so that's why all my research right now at BASIRA, I would say 70% of the track, I have moved from medical imaging. So I still have, by the way, medical imaging, AI medical imaging, MICCAI community, MICCAI submissions, and all of these things. On the other side, so I've moved towards developing the foundations of AI in a conscious way. So we're trying to kind of bring in, for example, equity. Equity is different from fairness. Equity means maximizing the opportunities for all stakeholders, for all users, right? Fairness, it means you try to treat everybody fairly. It does not necessarily correlate with the outcome, right? So we're working right now on designing equitable models. Reasoning, I have a few students, master students, who are working on reasoning-based models, like how to actually endow AI with reasoning capabilities, but in a way that it can explain its decisions. So we have more kind of foundational AI research right now, and we apply it to a variety of fields. We apply it to NLP, to computer vision, and to medical imaging. Yeah. So this is just the start of it. I just got into this a year and a half back, and I'm so excited because my personality, I get bored easily. So that's why you see me starting so many things at the same time. But of course, when you start something, you need to kind of complete it, right? So I don't start something and I let it. It's very rare that I let it down or let it go. Yeah. So I'm an achiever by heart, I would say.
Yeah. But I can definitely see that you're so active. You start so many new things. But there's one thing I found very amazing. Our previous guest, Andrea Laura, she also mentioned that she put a lot of efforts into the education. The education part of her job. She is kind of building or creating the bioengineering program in her university. And you mentioned a lot about the education side, and then of course as a student I totally agree with what you said, and then I feel like yes, this is exactly what we needed, like at this moment that, you know, a lot of us that we are just trying to achieve a degree, but we are not really seeing like what behind it. But I actually have a question that might shift a little bit from here, is that, you know, like the system we have in the university, they probably don't reward you that much for contributing in the education part, right? They probably evaluate professors with their publications, with their, you know, like more academia.
Grants, maybe.
Yeah, grants parts. But of course, the education is so important, and we want, as a students, we definitely want the education system to focus more on that, but it doesn't seem in that way. How do you feel about this, and how would you comment on that?
It's a very good question. It's a very great question, actually. I think so that's why we need to kind of, you know, so look, who in this institution, whether it's Imperial, whether it's, you know, like Amsterdam, Harvard, in Tunisia, like India, it doesn't matter. It's people like me and you who come up with rules. So, you know, like it's just somebody who was a student, who graduated, who got a PhD, and then got to become, you know, like a head of department. And I think the thing is, we really need to remove, you know, mentally or psychologically these hierarchical gaps, right? So at the end, we're all the same, and we want what is good for our student, for our educational institutions. And I think if we nurture that conscious collective spirit, or like vision of how things work or how things should work at a university, we will change a lot of things. So for example, I'm sure that this is almost everywhere. So for promotions at Imperial and other institutions, they require you to get a grant, right? And a large grant. So somehow you're buying your time, like you're buying your promotion. And I do believe that this is not the way it should be. So they should definitely look at other contributions. If you're contributing in education, that should kind of they should look at your strength and not trying to make everybody fit the same template, right? And it's a template that maximizes profit everywhere, because this is what capitalism do everywhere. And I think sometimes it's so hard to get out of that, right? So of course we need alternative solutions. And I think we need to sit down. I'm not criticizing to say, I'm just criticizing, right? So when we criticize, we need to have alternatives, and we need to have better alternatives and fairer alternatives and more inclusive alternatives that will bring together all these teachers and lecturers and professors who have different strengths, maybe, right? Or who want to focus their career on something completely different, and still allow them to kind of develop themselves, grow, and get, you know, promoted through this kind of educational ladder that they have defined, right? It's a predefined system. So yeah, so I think the first thing to do is to start to talk about these things. So that's, you know, if you do care about how things work systematically, right? But if you are a person who, I wouldn't say careless, but a bit detached, like myself, like I do what I believe is good. So for example, I organize mentorship programs, educational programs for low middle income countries. I teach my students. I had additional journal clubs here in my lab. So I spend 4 hours with my students, you know, discussing papers back to back. Like sometimes I get really tired, but it's so exciting. I think you need to kind of focus on what matters to you and not try to fit the template, because the moment you start thinking about templates and to tick boxes on templates defined by systems and institutions, it will tire you, it will drain you, and if there is a misalignment with your passion, your vision, your what you want to do, that will be so frustrating. So I think one genuine advice is just do what you are really good at and what you believe could bring benefit to students. And you know, we are educators in the first place. We're here to educate, and part of education is teaching well, and part of education is empowering, is making students trust themselves, is making students go from, you know, this initial state to this second state plus a delta, and a delta that the transformation I see in my students, whether researchers or in class, and I think that what makes me happy. It brings me a lot of joy to see that. So yeah, so at the end, try to kind of change the system from within, definitely not give up, but keep doing what you're doing regardless of the system. It's your time that you should use in the best way you can. Yeah. So
Oh, I love this part so much. I don't know how the audience feels when they listen to this, but I don't know what to say or how to summarize this. But what I can say is that there's definitely a spirit here that wants us to gain it from you, from what you just said, that yes, there's a lot of problem with the system, or there's not perfect with everything, but we all have our own power to do something. And then we should follow, yes, we should follow what we valued.
Exactly. And do not wait for somebody to give you the green light. I gave this advice years back. If you're passionate about something, you want to lead, just do it, right? You know, you don't need a permission. You don't need somebody to tell you you do it. That's the great thing about academia. And also you have free time, right? So after work, you do have free time. So you're doing this because you're passionate about it, Nina, right? Yeah. So I'm sure that a lot of students have so many ideas and they're scared to get started. Even, you know, like their undergrad, masters, PhDs, or even, you know, early career researchers. They say, oh, I'm going to fail. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Just get started and do it. And if you believe that this will benefit the community, it will be inspiring, empowering, it will leave somebody in a better state, why not, right? And I think that this will indirectly, right? Indirectly, it will boost you up. So, you know, it will kind of carve out your unique space. Do not just follow the trends. Of course, at some point you need to follow, right? At the beginning, you're following because you need to follow what's there, right? But at some point, you will feel that I can also do my own thing, and I can do other activities. I can start a summer school. I can organize an event where I invite people to talk about, I don't know, AI, the good, the bad. So these kind of things. So my advice to all students and every single, you know, all learners, eager learners, and those who want to start something, just get it started. Do not wait for somebody to approve of what you want to do. If you really want to do it, you're just going to do it anyways. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat this, that just do whatever you want to do. Don't wait for the green light. And then also, I think I also like this saying, you said it before, that there's no template. Or we should not try to fit us into a template. No matter whether, I mean, especially in academia, there's many ways to live your lives. And also outside of academia, I think you shouldn't live anybody's template. You should just live your life. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for this part. And then we're going to talk a little bit even more about this, about the community part that definitely you put a lot of passion on. We would like to first talk about RISE, of course.
Yeah.
I actually heard a little bit of how RISE first started, but I bet that everybody, the audience, also including me, would like to hear how you started RISE at the first place.
Yeah. So there are two things here. So the first thing is, when I started out as a lecturer at the University of Dundee, you know, there is this saying that basically there's this belief, this core belief, that for you to be able to do research and have students, you need to kind of get grants, right? So the first year when I started out as a lecturer or assistant professor, right, I submitted so many grants. And all of them got rejected in the UK. I was like, it was frustrating, one after the other. And I was like, okay, there should be another way, right? They always tell us that this is the only way to get somewhere, right? To achieve your dreams. There should be another way. So I thought outside the box. I said, like, what do I need, actually? I just need students who are eager to learn. I will train them for free. And then, you know, I just need, and I have lots of ideas already. So I have so many projects in my mind. They're just waiting for students to kind of, take them on. And what happens, like I send out, emails, and I kind of advertise who would like to kind of work on these projects, have like 5 projects. And I started this mentorship program, and I had 5 students from Tunisia. And I trained them, like I taught them, I think 3 to 6 hours every single week, just, to train them, teach them machine learning because they didn't have the basics. And then after that, they worked on an AI project with application to medical imaging and brain connectivity. And that was a starting point. And like basically going from, in 2000 and I think it was 17 to 2018, I had 17 papers published without any grants and no funding, all by wonderful students who were just eager to learn and eager to do research. And the first barrier that I overcome at the time is the barrier of what we call a false negative. A negative here is like, I can't do research without grants. What it is false. You can do research without funding. You can do research without grant. So you need to think outside the box sometimes, and you need to question or rethink assumptions made. And if you want to get somewhere, you can get somewhere. Yeah, so that was the first thing. And I just found joy, like supervising students, talking to them, writing down ideas on my iPad. And so that was the first thing. And then the second part of the RISE. So at the time, these students came from Africa. And I remember when I went to MICCAI in Granada, it was, if I believe, it was 2016. So they usually display the charts of the, like the accepted papers, and all continents were there, and Africa was not there. And I was like, oh my God, Africa is not there. And I was like, a whole continent is not there. And that kind of got me into thinking, can we do something about it? And that was 2016. So it sparked an idea, a feeling, a motivation. And I remember I had a conversation with Julia. I was a student at the time, a postdoc. Yeah, I was a postdoc, and Professor Julia Schnabel, right? She was there. I remember, meeting her at one of the poster panels. So I was there, and I just said hi, and I was like, a bit timid. I was like, and we started talking about, women and AI and Africa, and I told her it's actually very heartbreaking that we don't have any papers from Africa. And she said, well, I hope, she was into it. She said, like, I hope that we can make this, like happen in the future. And I don't know, I felt that a professor at the time, like that I met, is aligned, kind of that she resonated with me. That gave me more confidence. And at MICCAI, I think it was the MICCAI in Peru, one of the MICCAIs in 2020, I was attending it online because of COVID. And then what happened is like there's this chat room, so you can chat with participants, attendees, different participants. So I remember starting a conversation. I forgot who started the conversation with Shadi Barqouni, who's like now a professor at the University of Bonn. He's originally from Gaza, Palestine. So Shadi, I started talking to him, and they said, like, I really want to do something about this. And somehow we clicked, like we had exactly the same vision, the same motivation, and we said, let's start something about this. And we've started a conversation, and we opened a Word doc, and we were working on, proposing a working group at MICCAI. And so that's how the RISE came about. And it was a very I think it's a big transformation also in the history of MICCAI, because now we can see there are so many students coming, getting their papers accepted in low middle income countries. I remember also in 2020 we had 2 papers accepted from Africa, and I saw that 1%, and I was like, oh my God, these are 2 papers, and they were from my students, Islem Rekik, so my former PhD students, and I was so proud. I was like, if we can provide these students with, mentorship programs, right? With mentors who can teach them the skills, how to actually write a MICCAI paper, how to design things, how to come up with new ideas. They just need to be trained. They just need that window and space to connect with experts and with MICCAI experts, because MICCAI is not it's not a very, I would say, popular conference in those in many of these countries. That's why we wanted to bring Mikai to them and show them how they can get some, do some great research to improve global health, to, basically bridge this gap between the North and the South, to design new technologies, new AI models to solve important medical imaging problems, healthcare problems, locally and also globally. So it started out from there. And the RISE actually came about in 2021. And it was like we ran a few virtual events. And then when we came back to the in-person mode, then we had the in-person events over the past few years. So I served, I think I was leading it for about 4 years. It's a lot of work, but now it's like seeing it grow exponentially. It's just, with the website, the rise-micai.org, the summer school, this podcast, like it just brings me so much joy. Yeah.
We have the summer school, just while we're recording this, is happening this week.
Yeah.
The RISE Summer School. And I think we have over 1,000 signups.
Yeah. Actually, I gave a lecture on design thinking 2 days back, and yes, it's a huge number. Like even finding 3 people in a room, I think connected online, 300 attendees. It's just spectacular for a fully online summer school. Yeah.
Yes. And then the 300 attendees do not include those local hubs. We also have a lot of local hubs, and then they probably have like 20 or even more, like 50, 60 students sitting in the same room watching together.
Yeah,
so I think altogether it's like there's a lot participants for this summer school, and I'm also very surprised. Also other speakers of the summer school, they are very surprised like how many people were actually there. This is like they say this is the biggest webinar they've ever been to, and I'm so happy that like RISE MICCAI has it can gather so many people
from many countries, like the number
from many countries. Yes.
From many countries. I remember I had this quiz at the start of my session 2 days back, and I asked them where you're from, and there's like Guatemala, Chile, Tunisia, Syria, Jordan, Palestine. I was like, oh my God, and there were so many from Syria. Actually, it was the highest attendance rate because it was like kind of the statistics showed that, and I was like, oh my God, this is just amazing. And the idea of local hubs, it was quite challenging. I remember I suggested it to Esther at the start, and I was like, okay, we can maybe do that, but I just gave an idea. I didn't really invest any effort. It's all your work, guys, with I think with the help of the MICCAI 2026 community and committee members, right? But it's so amazing to have it hybrid, which means an online version, but also an in-person component where students gather locally in amphitheater and they see the broadcasting of the summer school, and then they can socialize. They can also interact, have questions. So I hope you guys will get lots of photos at the end, and you can just post them everywhere to see who actually attended in person. Like So I think this is fantastic.
So nice. Yes. That's so nice. And I also like the part where, because when I first asked like how RISE started, you share a very important information. I think it is that, sometimes research does not require grants. It requires a passion to learn.
And determination.
Like you said, an eager student, right? Yeah. And then people who are willing to spend their time on it. Some people like you, some mentors. Yes, and then things happened. They can have their paper published somewhere at MICCAI. Yeah.
And they got grants, travel grants. We started travel grants, and now we can fund students from low middle income countries, like from the RISE. They attend, and so many success stories and so many RISE stories. Actually, this year, my PhD student from Tunisia, she got a main MICCAI paper accepted and a workshop paper. And yesterday she told me she got a grant, and she's a mother of 2, and she got her second baby during her PhD, and she's. I think we need to be supportive of women, especially those who have, of course, single or married, doesn't matter. But those who have kids, I think we need to support them more because it's harder So seeing that, it's amazing. I think she's an inspiration. She's one of those RISE also stories or voices.
I'm so happy to hear that. For this year's MICCAI, you mean the one
Yeah, in Korea.
Korea. Okay,
Yeah.
so nice. I hope like from the audience, if you're going to this year's MICCAI in Korea, you can meet her in person.
Yeah, her name is Maisas. And actually, years back, so she got a MICCAI award for an oral presentation in Canada, and when she was a master's student, and also she's in Tunisia, so she's never actually studied abroad. But just seeing these success stories, it will bring a lot of hope and a lot of, I would say, belief. People will believe that it is possible to rise. It is possible. But it requires a lot of work and determination and discipline. Discipline is so important because if you want to do it, you can't just do it by, wanting to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to walk the walk, right? Not
Yes,
talk the talk only.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I wanted to bring our talk a little bit more beyond RISE because now you've stepped down from RISE, but I can also see that you're so active in many other events. You've started so many very interesting projects. And one of it, I saw it actually first from LinkedIn, that you launched a cooperative AI book writing project on ethics and inclusivity. And I was wondering whether you could tell us a little bit more about this project. Like, I mean, of course, it is not finished yet, but
It's ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing, yeah.
Okay, cool. So actually, I've always wanted to kind of publish real books. So of course, when you do proceedings, Springer proceedings, so you edit a lot of books. So I edited more than 24 books, I think. But it's different when you are editing academic books that accept papers, like top conferences, versus writing a book. And yeah, so after I stepped down from the RISE, I got a lot of time, free time back. So I need to use it wisely. So I thought, okay, so how about I just launched this, I call it the BASIRA collaborative projects. And this is the first project. Actually, it's the first of many. So I'm working on 2 right now. So the first one is this book co-writing. So it's called AI, the Good, the Bad, and the Game Changer. So what I did, I sent out a call for authors to join. And I was very surprised that so many people were very interested in joining this project, and we had amazing professors and amazing people, experts from different fields. And so basically for now we have 40 authors from 20 countries. I think last a few weeks back, I spent the whole weekend reading through more than 120 pages of essays on AI across different fields: education, healthcare, warfare, AI also in film and media industry. And I have learned so much. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so enlightening. I didn't know about these things. And this is why I think this book will be of high value to the international, the global community. There are so many, usually we look at AI as a hype, it has a lot of traction when it comes to investment, when it comes to research, when it comes to a lot of things. Of course, it has a lot of good sides, but also it has bad sides. And we are racing towards just getting the technology without even stopping or thinking about what does this actually mean? Do we actually need this, right? Do we need to design these kind of solutions? And what are the negative or the harms that such technologies can bring? So I'm going to tell you maybe 2 stories. I remember so many things. Actually, the book will come out soon, so I'm compiling it right now. Yes.
Can you tell us a bit, like when?
So not the hard copy. So I'm going to release a sample of the first draft. And then I'm going to call more authors to join. So hopefully we'll get up to, we'll collect maybe 40 more essays. So I hope that we'll get up to, like 200 pages-ish. So for now it's 120. But yeah, so basically I'm going to release an early version. Everybody can download it and read it, and then continue to collect, essays for the second edition, which I hope I can get published as a hard copy, which would be really nice. Yeah. So one of the things that really struck me when reading this book, the essays, the first one is about, I think it was written by Ghada Zamzmi, so she's also MICCAI, prominent, I would say, researchers. And she wrote about how these technologies and AI, particularly in healthcare, can lead to eroding patient dignity. So patients become reduced to data points, right? They consent to, for example, using their data to do research, but then their data is repurposed for other types of research that they may not understand. So, so medicine or treatment should be a holistic kind of procedure, not just fully data driven. So the problem is like with pace, money, all these things, we just want to speed things up and take the patient off the box just to get them treated, and automating this algorithmically, purely algorithmically, using algorithms that we cannot properly explain. Now, even with explainable AI, it is hard to evaluate the explainer modules, and anyone who works here on explainable AI, they know how hard it is to evaluate your explainability models, which try to explain these black boxes, how they work, right? Their inner working and why they got to that decision. So, and also in her essay, she mentioned she mentioned the American Chamber of Horrors. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? American Chamber of Horrors. So basically, Harvey Wiley's, in 1933, he exhibited what he called the American Chamber of Horrors. All the horrors that the Bureau of Chemistry has led to. So at the time, using chemicals to design or engineer beauty products was very prominent. So people started using a lot of chemicals to design beauty products. And what happened, this was completely uncontrolled. So a lot of these products, they led to baldness, to diseases, to cancer, to a lot of things. And Wiley, what he did in 1933, he exposed all these products with how they were framed and advertised beautifully, and then how they caused a lot of harm and even sometimes caused the death of a user, right? So this American Chamber of Horrors showed that uncontrolled technologies can be detrimental. And this has led to the foundation of the FDA, So the FDA has a role of regulating these chemicals and drugs at the time. And basically, we need to learn from our history. So we forget why the FDA emerged, is to control technologies. And now what is happening is the US, I think Trump and also Elon Musk, they dismantled the whole unit of AI regulation, which was operating for the last, I think, 7 years, and removing a unit that regulates AI is, I think, very alarming. So why we had this unit was part of the FDA. So the goal is to regulate the technologies with application to healthcare and drugs and all these things, right? So I think the essay was amazing in the sense that I wasn't aware that in the history of science, new technology emerge quickly, people adopt them without any control and regulation. They cause a lot of harm, and then we try to regulate them. So why not try to regulate them from the get-go, right? So we need to that's why I told you from the beginning, history is important. And history of science, as scientists, is important. We need to know history of science to understand the mistakes that have been made before and not fall into the same trap, right? So so that was one essay. And the second one, there were so many. So a second one was about film and media and was written by Tatiana from Imperial. And I remember she said at the time there was, at some point in the film industry, artists and actors were fighting against these contracts that exploit them, right? And their time and their, also their salaries. So, so she mentioned different actors and different stories, and she said now actors are actually fighting against AI, simulating their faces, their voices, their essence, and then they're not getting any money out of it, right? And this, AI digital actor or digital twin can mimic them for ages, right? And so this needs to be regulated too, right? So it needs to be fairly regulated with equitable outcomes, right, for actors, users, and developers. So yeah, so many stories. And the last one that was so funny, but not that funny, is about education. A professor from, actually forgot her name, yeah, but from Malaysia, she said, well, in her essay, she kind of spotlighted how now we may end up disintegrating education by having machines teaching machines, literally. So AI teaching AI. It's like, when you write a paper, you write it using GPT, and then the reviewer, to review the paper, they use GPT. So who is actually doing the science here, right? So it's GPT against GPT or LLM against LLM. So the problem is, like, with education right now, we have an intellectual crisis of, we don't want to make students dumb and dull. Our natural intelligence as learners is at stake, and we need to learn how to use these tools very smartly. We need to learn how to operate and survive without AI, right? What happens if you have an internet blackout, right? You won't be able to operate on a patient. You won't be able to express yourself, communicate clearly, and write an essay. You won't be able to think, right? So we really need to think about these things very seriously, and this is what the book is exposing. Yeah.
Yeah, whoa, this is so amazing. I love all these three stories. I bet me and also the audience, we were looking forward so much to the draft version of it. And also the first part of the story, where also actually the second, about the regulation of the AI. It just reminds me of one of the talk that I had with Ike Peterson. He was a previous postdoc in our group. Mm-hmm. And then we have a talk about, like, actually in a lot of other domains, especially in biology, they need to have a sort of like concern before they do some experiment. Mm-hmm. But in computer science, this is like, you want to do an experiment, you do it, and then you wanted to publish something, you wanted to make some, you wanted to release a software, you release it. There's no such controls of what can be done and what should not be done. And then we also don't have such discussion about what kind of AI practice should be allowed and what kind of should not.
Yeah.
So, I think this is really, really needed, and I'm very exciting to see, like, the book and also the stories and maybe more stories after you release the first draft.
Yeah, I think this is just the beginning. I think it's important that people try to replicate this. And I love what you said, Nina. You said starting a discussion, right? Mm-hmm. So discussion is so important. Sometimes we need to make time to sit down and talk about these things. So instead of, talking about the next big, multi-million grant or multi-million blah, 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 we need to sit down and talk about, where is this right, really needed right now first? Do we actually need this? Because sometimes, you may find very simple ways of solving problems, but what happens is, you try to find the costly ways that bring in the money to solve the problem, because that fancy solution is what's gonna, kind of bring you the money and solve the problem. So sometimes we opt for very sophisticated solutions just for the sake of profit, right? So it's utilitarianism, which is not, I don't think it's wise. And I think we really need to think about so many things within that space. And as conscious educators, researchers, it is important to have a conversation with your friend, with your colleague, with your students, with your teachers, right? And say, well, is this actually good? Which harms my algorithm may cause? It is hard to evaluate. That's why we need to collaborate with humanities. We are not taught in STEM how to do that properly, particularly in engineering and computer science. And we need people who know about the history of science, who know about philosophy, anthropology, humanities, social sciences, right? All these kind of fields that are paramount. They are of absolute, I would say, importance, right? So we need them to kind of navigate this space. We can't navigate it alone because we don't have the expertise in those areas. Yeah, yes. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's definitely we need to build a bridge for communication with different fields. Like you said, like people who do education, who focus more on fields and arts, and then also other aspects, like we are computer science, and maybe we are also know something about medical imaging. I don't even know whether we can say that, but we definitely lack of knowledge of other things, laws, education, and then the humanity part. We need to learn from each other.
Cool. So you know now why I chose STEM and why I'm, kind of coming back to humanities, because STEM cannot survive without humanities. And if you believe so, it won't be very useful in the long term. Yeah.
Exact.
Oh.
I wanted to shift a little bit. I really, really love the farewell statement you wrote when you were stepping down from RISE. Like, I can recommend it to everyone. Like, who wanted to read, you just need to search Islem Rekik, MICCAI, RISE, something like that, and then you can find that because it is
farewell.
because it is on the announcement of MICCAI Society, I think, and then you can read that, and I really recommend everybody to read it. But now I'm going to read one part of the lines that I like the most. Actually, that's something that encouraged me to do this storytelling thing. So this line is, we come into the world that has been shaped by the past and carry the bias and discriminations left behind by those before us. This needs to change, and this is only you and me that can do so. This is a very, very powerful message. But at the same time, I know, like, not only me, but also a lot of people, we will feel a little bit disappointed of what is happening. And then sometimes, even though I'm doing a lot of voluntary works like this, but sometimes I feel a little bit doubt about whether things are getting better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you, how do you stay hopeful and driven when working to change systems and mindset that are deeply embedded?
Yeah. It's a very great question. It's a hard question. Actually, I remember when writing the farewell, it was one of the hardest and most heart-moving things I've ever done. Sitting down to kind of bid farewell to the RISE as a president. Of course, I'm still very active, and in that particular statement, it came from the heart. Because I do believe we find ourselves in, we're born into different countries, into different colors, into different shades, like, I would say not shades, but, environments. And every single country, every single culture has its own, I would say, discriminative heritage. And this is everywhere. And sometimes I believe that, not sometimes, but I do believe that if we cannot change this fully, at least we could try. And if I try and you try and those who are listening try, and everybody tries with whatever they can, there is a prophetic, a beautiful saying by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So he said, if you want to change something in the world, like if you see something negative, the least thing you can do is try to change it by, your heart. Right? So it's intending that I see something wrong. If I cannot change it with my tongue, by speaking up, with my hand, by doing something, at least is by my heart. So the best thing, of course, is by doing, and then by speaking. And then with your heart, if you cannot, just intend good. Just, try to change it from within. So I think change takes time, and it has multiple steps and multiple stages. And the hardest change is making people conscious about these things, because a lot of people, they are neutral or they do not care. So which means they see something wrong. They see they're born into systems that are dysfunctional, that have biases and discrimination. And they think first, they don't believe they can change that. I think that's also a false negative. Right? Like, you believe, what is it? Am I going to change the world politics? Am I going to change, the fact that I'm born from country A, I need visa for every single country B, and those who are born in country C do not need visa at all. They can come and visit my country anytime. So, these kind of things, like the world politics, like just, for example, for me, I remember for the RISE, it really kind of affected me back in, I think it was 2023 in Canada, and I wasn't able to get the visa. I applied for the visa from London, and the wait time is 300, I don't know, 80 days or something just to get a response. And I applied a few months, like just when I registered to MICCAI, which should be around, June, July, and then the conference is in September, October. So I don't know why they put these barriers. And you can go through a visa, but at least make it easy for people to go and attend, especially people who are doing good science or trying to do good, So I don't know. So I think the whole thing here, the whole system could be very frustrating. And this is just one example. There are so many things. But where to start first, you need to believe. So true change and transformation starts from within. You cannot say, you need to really believe in your heart that you can do something good. If you don't believe in yourself and in your heart, if you don't have that hope and you keep it, you can't change, right? It will be so difficult. So the first thing you need to do is you say, who made up this law? Like, who created this division? Who did all of this? Just somebody like me and you, just a human being who lived for a few years and then, they departed from the world, and all of us will do that at some point, right? So at the end, realizing that we're all the same. We're all have, same rights, right? Yeah. So we're all one tribe. We're all like humanity, right? So realizing that and feeling that we are connected, that nobody has a favor, this hierarchy is just, superficial. And at the end, we're all the same. Then that belief will enable you to kind of say, I can make a change, right? And if you believe in your heart that you can make a change, then that's the first starting point. So there are so many things frustrating, and things can be especially painful, especially now with what's going on in wars and genocide in Palestine. All these things, they really could be heartbreaking. They are heartbreaking, not could be. They are more than heartbreaking. And what I think what we need to do is wherever you are, you try to do something good and to keep on believing that if I start this podcast, I will inspire people to do something good. If I organize this summer school, I'll bring students, teach them about AI. How can they use it in a good way? If I talk to my neighbor, I'm good to my neighbor. I say hi, good morning, I smile. And I remember when coming on the bus, the bus driver this morning told me, I really like your scarf. And I was he was a Sikh, from India.
Yeah.
And I was and he was an old man, and he smiled at me, and I was oh my God, he made me so happy. It's just, these gentle, simple acts of kindness can change people. And I think change in the world will come with these simple things, and being conscious of what is there and learning about these systems, I think is so important to understand why these biases exist in the first place. How did they emerge? Why we had Islamophobia, why we have, for example, anti-Semitism, why we have all these things, right? How did they actually emerge? And when you understand how they came about, then you can go back to the roots and treat that. So I think reading about that, making yourself, a conscious learner and truly intelligent being, questioning things and having a good intention in your heart that I want this to be good for everybody, not just for me, not just for my people, not just for my community, not just for my country, but for everyone. And I think having that intention can transcend all boundaries, all biases, and can lead us to a better place. That's my hope and my belief, yeah.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, really, that's so beautiful. I love all this. And then, yeah, I think, and also I like especially the part that if you cannot really do something by your hand, by your thumb, at least you can change your heart to remind yourself what is good, what is kind, and then what should I do, right?
Yeah.
Even though you cannot do it now, reminding yourself that you believe in such this thing or something should be in what way is still a good action.
That's beautifully summarized. Thank you, Nina.
Yeah. I love this so much.
Thank you.
And then let me quote another sentence from your farewell statement, that we rise together, we never rise alone.
No, yeah.
So I believe and also you actually already mentioned you supervised during a postdoc, who is like a great supervisor, great mentor. And
Yeah.
I believe you do have a lot of supports and companies during your journey. And then could you share a little bit about that with us, during your past journey?
So I think all my teachers, they taught me a lot of things. I'm grateful actually to all my teachers, every single teacher, whether they are real people in this world, like at university, schools, or mentors, supervisors, or whether they are in books. Actually, I've learned a lot of things from people, from authors, like who wrote books, people writing books, minds recorded in books. I think I'm grateful to all of those who taught me something beneficial, inspiring, and I have so many of them. I do have academically, of course, I'm going to talk from an academic perspective. I think all of us in our lives, we do have role models. We have, like spiritual leaders, or somebody who's like really inspiring people, you following so many inspiring people from all colors, from all cultures. Actually, I'm really multicultural, multicolorful. I learn about so many things. I read about so many things: religion, spirituality, art, music. Actually, I love to learn from people who went through challenges, how they overcome them, how they were enlightened to do something, even small or great. I don't know. Like for me, even small things are great. Like it's not by the size or how many, like the effect that you have with things you build. But yeah, so my mentor, as I mentioned, during my postdoc, I think being mentored by Professor Ding Gangshan was amazing, because I had so many great mentors, by the way, and I'm grateful to each one of them as supervisors. But I think having a very unique mentor, in the sense that they spend time to really mentor you. Like, we had these 2 weekly meetings, a group meeting, and a journal club, and he used to attend each one of them for 2-3 hours and asks questions to the presenting students and engage with really deep conversations. And I think that taught me how to think. Why? Because way before that, I mentioned that I got my MSc degree with highest honors from École Normale Supérieure. But I think what I did is like what all students usually do, is memorize. I tried to think, but memorize to get the degree. And I got the degree ranked first. But then when I went to the lab, I found this amazing mentor who asks why you're using sparsity, why you're using a low rank optimization. What does it mean to do? Why? So he always asks the question of why. And why is the rationale, like why you're doing this, why you're engineering your network in this order, why you putting, for example, the denoiser and then the segmentation module. So why you're breaking down your problem into this particular order of sub-problems. And I think what I really learned is how to think, number one, creatively and logically. I think a lot of students, as I mentioned, they struggle with logic. So they may have good results, but when I ask them to write down their paper, it's not about their English fluency. It's more about how to think and how to argue, how to perceive, and how can I build a story that's convincing in a step-by-step manner. And I think we are not taught that. We just absorb that through readings and through things, right? But when you have a mentor who teaches you how to do that by just playing the role of the reviewer, right, and asking questions.
You why.
Exactly. But then you just learn, and it's amazing. I remember also I put in effort. So having access to expertise is important, and great mentors is important, but also you need to put in the work. So a lot of students may have access to the same mentor, but not all of them develop the same skills. Why? Because I believe some students put more what they learn into practice, and others just attend passively or maybe think a bit, and then that's it. So I think as learners, you need to own and personalize your learning. So this is what I tell my students. I tell my students in the lecture room, look guys, You may have the best lecturer. I'm not talking about myself, but hopefully I'm a good lecturer. But even if you have the best of the very best, and they give you the best lecture ever, still 70% of the work lies on you. So you need to own your learning. You need to go back, take your notes, customize your learning, ask questions, quiz yourself. Otherwise, you will not own your learning. It will be projected onto you. So this is why lecturing is just, passively diffusing information. I've tried to make it interactive, of course, and engage students, but still, the concept of lectureship is, it's kind of delivering information. So most of the time. So what the students need to do is to do the work. So what I did at the time, I remember I had a LaTeX file every morning, every Monday morning. And I sat down on my desk and I was like, okay, what did they learn? What was the talk about on Thursday? And what was the talk about on Friday? And I would sit down and try to squeeze my brain, and all these concepts were new to me. So I learned about things. I was like, okay, what do I remember actually from the talk? And sometimes I used to write 2-3 sentences at the end. I practiced this for a year and a half. I was there for 2 years. And at the end, I ended up with actually 200 pages in LaTeX. I still have the doc. It's amazing. So all my summaries of more than, I think, 70 or 100 talks, my personal summaries. So I take notes all the time. So first I do what we call a recall. So I try to remember myself what the talk was about. Because what you retain is what you own as knowledge. Otherwise you forget it, right? And then I go over my notes and I summarize in LaTeX. And at the end of my postdoc, I had so many ideas. I just needed students to develop all of them. I had like hundreds of ideas because, you think about problems and you have many problems and diverse domains of applications. Like we had people working on the brain, the infant brain, on dementia, on Parkinson's disease, on the bladder, different types of cancers. And so the group was very diverse and I learned so many things. So yeah, after that, I think that's why mentorship is so vital, because you need to have first very good mentors, and second, you need to do the work and engage your brain, think, take notes, and work at it. It won't come naturally. Yeah?
Yeah. That's such a good advice. I would say that this is something that all the junior research can learn it from. Like, probably, I think most of us, especially PhDs, we do have like supervisors, mentors, and but maybe the part of like how can we engage more in this mentorship? How can we learn more during the mentoring process? It's super different by how you engage into it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it differs a lot, but having also a group meeting is good. So if you don't have that in your lab, I really encourage all students to form groups, like and say, let's do a journal club. Let's get together and discuss this paper. Let's teach one another. So the best way to learn is to actually teach. That's how you master things. So if you don't have these dynamics, try to create them. Come up with a journal club. Say every Friday we're going to sit for 2 hours, discuss 2 papers in depth on the board, understand the math, understand the why, go over the rebuttal. If the rebuttal is on open review, you're studying in Europe's or ICLR papers, just study the rebuttal in depth. That will teach you how to think, how to argue, how to, analyze experiments and design experiments. So I think there's a lot of work that you can do regardless of how the mentorship dynamics are in the lab you're in or the universities you're in. You can actually create that.
I like that you said that the best learning way is by teaching.
Yeah.
It's actually something exactly how I felt. Like if I actually know something really well, it's only by then I can sort of like give my friends or give my colleague sort of summary of what is it about that work or what is it about that paper. Otherwise, like I probably know it, I probably read it, but
it's the illusion of knowing, illusion of understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you validate it when you explain it properly and clearly. You articulate it clearly. Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, I think before we let you go, so that's all the questions that we prepared for today.
Thank you.
Maybe before that, is there anything that you wanted to, share a message with our audience before we go to our rapid fire round?
Oh, we have a rapid fire round. Wow.
Yes.
Cool. So, what I would like to share with the audience, I don't know. I think it's important. Sometimes, during this whole journey, you may lose trust, you may lose hope, you may even lose trust in your capacity to get there, right? And I think wherever you are right now, just be at peace and okay with that, and know that it shall pass, because the career trajectory is filled with transitions. It's dips. So you have dips and then you rise, and you dip and you rise again. So it is okay that if you are rising right now and you feel like everything is flowing beautifully, I'm like on, right on track, that's wonderful. But if you are at a dip and you feel like I'm stuck, I don't know why I'm doing this, why I got myself into this, I don't know how to get there, like I had this paper rejected for many times, or I don't know if this research is actually good or not, or I think sometimes it is okay to feel okay when you are at that low. You need to accept yourself. So even when you lose trust, you need to say, it's okay that I'm not trusting. Yes, it's okay that I'm not having hope now. It's okay. I accept myself. I accept that this is a state. It shall pass. And tomorrow is a better day. And I think if you first accept, then you can process it and you come to see the light. And there is a beautiful verse also in the Quran that says, He leads them from darkness to light. And this is it's every now and then you will feel you are in a dark place. And sometimes you just need to know that it's just passing by and light will come on. Like you'll just, pull that cord and then the bulb lights up and the whole room is actually lit up. Like when I think it's important to just, have that, in general. So it's okay if you are not feeling okay, and it shall pass, and you will trust yourself again. Keep going. And then try to change the way you handle things and you deal with things. Because if you've been stuck for a long time doing the same thing and it's not working out for you, maybe there is something there that you need to change in your way of thinking, or maybe in the way you're trying to solve the problem. You can't try the same thing over and over again and you're still stuck. So to unstuck, you need to change, again, what's within yourself. And if you have the energy to change that, then you'll come to see, the other side. So that's that on and off, right? Dip and rise. But we eventually, the goal is like, this is how I see life. Like you dip, rise, dip, rise. But at the end, despite the dips, you're always going up, right? So that if you fit in a linear curve, like you have like a very nice, kind of slope, right, upwards. But all of it has mini dips. So make sure you navigate that, sanely and peacefully. Yeah, I would say. And with hope. Cool.
It's a very beautiful part that you share.
Because I know a lot of people struggle and they don't talk.
Yes.
And all of us have our own struggles. All of us, I'm sure. Different types, different times, but that's part of life. Yeah. Okay, rapid fire.
Rapid fire round. Before we let you go, let's do something a little bit lighter.
All right.
Okay, so to wrap up, we will do a quick rapid fire round. We'll have 7 short questions to end on a fun and reflective note. So there will be like quick questions, and then you should also answer it
with options and with no options.
Some is with options. Some is like A or B, and some is like a what question. So
okay, cool. So let's do that. I've never done this before. I'm so excited.
Are you ready for that?
Yes, I'm all ready.
Okay, let's go. So the first one is, your favorite book or one of your favorites?
Oh my God, that's so hard to answer. Well, I would say my favorite book is the Quran because that's my spiritual book. The second favorite book is The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Deutsch. Everybody should read that.
Okay,
Changed
got
my
that
life.
advice.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second one is, are you a morning thinker or a night owl researcher?
Oh, yeah, morning. Morning.
Okay. And the third question is that, what is your best advice you've ever received as a younger researcher?
The best advice as a younger researcher?
That you received?
Yeah. We believe in you even if you don't believe in yourself, from family and friends.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so beautiful. Okay, the next one. If you weren't in medical AI today, what do you think you would be doing?
Sorry,
If you are not doing what you're doing today, what do you think you will be doing?
I'll be a nomad traveling the world and doing arts.
Ooh, that's cool. Okay, and then the next one. So do you have a research paper that you find yourself recommending again and again? Not necessarily to be your own paper. But it can be your own paper.
It could be my own paper, research paper recommending again and again. I don't have something that really comes to my mind right now. But the problem is, like, I'm most familiar with my. I can't remember a paper that really stuck with me. I mean, all papers. I've read so many magnificent papers.
Okay.
But I would say the transaction on pattern analysis TPAMI paper from my group, because that's something I'm familiar with. Graph neural networks in network neuroscience. It's an overview of all generative GNNs with application to neuroscience, and that's actually a field that we primed. We published a lot of works, and we were amongst the first to actually design these GNN models to generate brain connectivity across time, scale, and domains.
That sounds really good to know. Yeah. Okay. And then the next one is, do you have one concept in AI or neuroscience that you wish more people truly understand?
Cognition. And we're working, the paper accepted MICCAI this year workshop, and the main one is about cognifying neural networks, is how to endow neural networks with memory capacity, problem-solving capacity, so cognition. It's very hard.
Great. Okay, the final one. If you could go back in time and attend one scientific discovery live, what would it be?
Go back in time, like which time? Like centuries ago?
Any time back. To be part of, or not necessarily to be part of, but to witness.
To witness. I've always been a big fan of Al-Kindi. He's a Muslim scholar who lived centuries back. I forgot which century exactly. But he had written more than 900 books. And I was like, how did he get the time to do that? 900 books. And he is an autodidact, a multidisciplinary. So I would really love to hang out with Al-Kindi.
Okay, lovely. Okay, that's actually the end of the rapid fire round.
Thank you. That was so interesting.
And and also thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. Honestly, it's so powerful. I would say it's so powerful, so warm. There's so many messages that I wanted to hear it again. I'm in the whole process, but I probably will hear it again and again. And then it definitely brings me so much power. And I want to thank you again for that.
Thank you.
We hope the audience enjoy this episode, and then we will have more powerful stories on the way. Until next time.